Hey guys, RanterInShades here, exercising my First Amendment rights vlog style. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this picture before. It's been shared around the internet for quite some time. I've seen it shared on many Facebook pages. I can't remember which ones, but I've seen it shared a lot. What I do remember is that it wasn't shared by any of the metal-related pages that I like. What is this picture of, you ask? Well, before I show you guys the picture, I'd like to make it clear that I know I shouldn't be acting sensitive towards this picture, because I'm sure some people are going to comment saying that I'm taking this too personally and too seriously. Well, I'm going to take this picture seriously and dissect each point it makes for the sake of making a point of my own. So here it is. Yeah, I'll just leave it up here for a little bit. Just let it sink in for a few seconds, okay? Yeah, this is a pretty bullshit picture, right? Okay. So let's go over what this picture portrays. So it's showing metal music then and quote-unquote metal music now. For metal music then, we see a very Dave Mustaine-looking dude, looking all angry, playing what looks like a Gibson Explorer, and sporting a long blonde mane. For metal music now, we see a more sad-looking dude, sporting a shiny black bowl cut with very bony arms, wearing purple pants, and a shirt that says, "I'm a faggot!" In other words, both figures here are stereotypes. One is positive, and the other is negative. First, I want to get off track and talk about that "I'm a faggot" shirt. Who the hell would wear that? Would a gay person wear a shirt like that? I don't think so. If you really felt comfortable with your sexuality and were really proud of who you are, you wouldn't need a shirt to show it. Also, even if gay people did wear shirts that indicated that they were gay, I'm sure they wouldn't be as homophobic as that shirt. Something tells me that the creator of this picture is a conservative Christian, more than likely, who doesn't support gay rights, but I'll get to more about this later. Also, before I start debunking all the claims this picture has to offer, I feel as though I should say this. Not all metal musicians today look like this. If you had a brain and actually knew more about metal and what it has to offer, you would know that a genre as a whole has more to offer as far as modern metal goes than just metalcore and deathcore. Have we forgotten about Alter Bridge, Dream Theater, Symphony X, Firewind, Mastodon, and so many other awesome bands that just happen to be modern, or at least not from the 80s? Some true metalhead you are. Let's begin dissecting. Long, shaggy, kick-ass hair. That, my friend, is subjective. While I myself may like that hairstyle, others do not. No hairstyle is objectively kick-ass. One thing I should mention that you may or may not know is that you still do see people sporting this hairstyle. Have you not been paying attention? People never stopped wearing their hair like 80s metal musicians once did. Even bands these days still wear their hair like 80s musicians. The look never vanished. Had some muscle. Musicians these days have muscle too. If you were as superficial as you seem here, you'd probably realize this. Why do you care so much about what bands or musicians look like? Shouldn't we be putting more emphasis on the music that they produce? If you truly love and value music, you'd focus more on that than you do on what they look like. Yelling, not screaming. Don't you mean clean vocals? You still hear clean vocals today. Bands didn't stop using clean vocals. Those bands I showed you earlier, they all use clean vocals. And bands such as White Wizard and Steelwing incorporate the traditional new wave of British sound into their style. And of course you also have the new school of thrash metal with bands such as Warbringer, Municipal Waste, Havoc, Evil, and so much more. 80s styles and 80s sounds never left, and the idea that they just disappeared after the 80s ended is just stupid. There are even modern glam metal bands such as Steel Panther, Crash Diet, De La Cruz, and even my own music that utilizes that sound. I hate this ideology that the world was in such a depression after the 80s ended. What I see here is just bitterness towards the fact that times change. Look, I like 80s music and 80s metal just as much as the next guy, but at the same time, I also accept time for what it is, and don't bitch and moan about time moving forward. There was, and still is, good music being made after the 80s. I love 80s music, but the 80s weren't the only good time for music. Meaningful and powerful lyrics. That too is subjective. People are able to find meaning in all lyrics. Someone could come up to me and say that there is deep meaning in a song as stupid as Fergalicious by Fergie, aka the worst song of all time. I'd disagree with them, no sweat, and say that there's more meaning in a song like Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden, and they'd probably disagree with that for whatever reason. Lyrical meaning is subjective. And also, let me reiterate, there are metal songs from the 80s with pretty poor writing, just like there are metal songs these days with very brilliant writing. The 80s weren't all perfect, and this generation isn't all shit. Do your research, and you will realize this. Manly as fuck. Are you gay? I mean, there's nothing wrong with being gay. I'm just curious as to why you care so much about how manly musicians looked back then. I don't know, maybe you're a woman and I could just call you an overly judgmental Got so much pussy. Musicians these days get a lot of pussy too. Do you think musicians just stopped getting pussy after the 80s ended? Hell no. Come in.
Hey, Shades.
Well, hello. Excuse me one second. Don't fuck with me, appearance and attitude. Did I not show examples of bands these days that convey that same appearance? If you didn't feel intimidated enough, here's another modern band for you. Lamb of God, hell yes. Now here's the most subjective point this picture has to offer. Talented. That is subjective! Here's a non-metal example of this. I find Eminem to be a very talented rapper a lot of the time. Someone else may not find him talented. It's all subjective. Now let's move on to quote-unquote metal music now. What the fuck are you saying? Words? Plain and simple. You can go look it up if you want. And you know what? I could say the exact same thing about a lot of death and black metal bands. You'd get pretty pissed at me, right? No different than fans of a band like Design the Skyline or Black Veil Brides. Overly straight hair. What is the problem exactly with straight hair? I have straight hair and no one seems to mind. Why is it just when a core band has straight hair that it's a problem? Again, why is there any emphasis on hairstyle? It's just hair. Enjoys the cock. How do you know that? And is that even a problem? This picture does have its share of homophobic slurs, and I don't understand why they need to be here. People called some 80s metal musicians, such as Bret Michaels, gay, and we should know by now that they aren't. And speaking of 80s metal musicians, you want to know who actually is gay? Rob Halford or Judas Priest. Bet you didn't know that, did you? Well, he actually is gay, and he's one of the most talented and one of the most influential metal musicians of all time, right? So stop bashing homosexuals when one of your metal heroes, I'm damn sure of that, is gay himself. Rob would feel insulted if he found out that fans of his music were bashing people for their sexuality. And if you are bashing gays and then turning around and listening to Judas Priest, guess what? You don't deserve to listen to Priest. Gay/bisexual. Same shit applies, I'm not going to repeat myself here, but this is where I get the idea that the creator of this picture is conservative. They're usually the people that are the most homophobic. I'm sure if someone was really passionate about metal, or even music as a whole, they wouldn't need to put any emphasis on sexuality and just enjoy the damn music. Get ready for some more subjectivity with this next point. Shit music. It looks like a chick. First of all, why are you referring to the core musician as it? Unfortunately for you, they are human beings just like you. Get used to it. And about them, quote-unquote, looking like chicks, let me introduce you to a late 80s glam metal band called Pretty Boy Floyd. Yup, they're guys. I've watched them in interviews. By the way, notice how I'm not afraid to joke about bands I like. I think Pretty Boy Floyd is alright. I like their first album. Just because I joke about a band doesn't mean I don't like them. I think if people were really comfortable with their musical taste, they should be able to joke about it. Otherwise, I'd just make the claim that you are either easily offended or don't have a sense of humor. Or both. Angsty/emo behavior. What, you mean emotion? Isn't emotion something you praise bands you like for? Maybe it didn't occur to you that metal bands don't always have to be angry. In fact, the more different types of emotion you convey, the more diverse of a songwriter you sound like. Bands do this, even core bands. They aren't angsty or emo all the time, just like how thrash metal bands aren't just angry all the time, and just like how power metal bands sing about more than just dragons, wizards, elves, and other fantasy themes. And finally, scream, scream, scream! I could say the same thing about death metal and be like, death metal is just whirl, whirl, whirl. So who's right here? Me or you? The answer is neither. This picture is ridiculous, retarded, biased, ignorant, and completely contradictory to what I believe metal is all about. So fuck this picture, and fuck anyone that shares it. Good day, sir. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.